Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, Lady Esther presents the Screen Guild players in Rachel Crowther's delightful satire, Susan and God. It stars Walter Pidgeon as Barry Trexel, Betty Davis as Susan, his wife, and Paula Winslow as Irene. The Lady Esther Screen Guild players in Susan and God. Susan and Barry Trexel are married, which of course is not original, and they don't get along, which is not exactly a novelty, and they have lots of friends, which is understandable. And their friends have opinions, which are to the point.
Oh, Susan and Barry ought to be divorced. I think their existence is absurd.
I wonder, does Barry drink because Susan's tired of him, or is Susan tired of him because he drinks?
I hear he's adorable when he's sober and impossible when he's drunk. Any woman would get tired of that.
Susan gets tired of everything. She changes her mind as often as her clothes.
Susan doesn't change her mind. She changes her emotions.
Well, one thing, I simply won't have them in my home together. I simply won't.
But Irene, Barry's been phoning every hour to see if Susan has arrived.
She's due from Europe today, isn't she? And didn't she cable you from the boat, Irene? Didn't she say she was coming up here to the country?
Leonora, you don't know Susan. She's just as apt to show up in Kansas or Timbuktu or...
Irene!
Or here.
You darlings, you darlings, you darlings. This is too wonderful. It is, isn't it?
Oh, I'm so glad to see you, dear.
Oh, I'm delighted to be here. I want to kiss you all. Irene and Stubby and... Do I know you?
Does it make any difference?
Susan, this is Clyde Rochester, the actor. He came up with Stubby and Leonora.
Leonora? I'm Leonora, Stubby's wife. His new wife, of course, his first wife. And he was such a bachelor. I can quite see how you did it, Leonora. She's marvelous, Stubby. Irene, darling, it's so heavenly to be back. You look simply wonderful.
You, too. You look the way we're supposed to look when we come from Paris, only nobody ever does.
Do you like me? Oh, how sweet, sweet, sweet it is to be here. I should have stopped to see Blossom, but, darling, how's your golf?
Oh, my tee shot.
And, Stubby, you must tell me, how did it feel to be married?
Well, I feel...
Oh, I just couldn't wait to get here. You know, I've had the most wonderful experience of my whole life.
You always have them in Paris.
Oh, not Paris, Irene. I've forgotten all that. I was referring to Lady Wigham.
Lady Wigham?
The most distinguished woman in England and the most gorgeously magnificent place in Kent, to say nothing of all the others. But that isn't it.
Well, then, what is?
It's her soul. It's developed to such a marvelous... For instance, the first night I was there, I didn't know anyone, and I was holding my chin as high as possible and trying to be as insulting to the English as they were to me. And then Lady Wigham herself floated in, and we all loved each other in a minute.
Well, what do you mean? Is she religious or something?
Oh, no, it's much more than that. I mean, it's new and fresh and so practical. That's why it appeals to me.
What appeals to you?
Why, it isn't hers, of course. It's anybody's, everybody's. But she began the movement.
Oh, Susan, if there's one thing I thought you'd never be guilty of, it's a movement.
I know, that's why it's so wonderful. You wait, you'll see. I can't even talk about it yet. I just want to give all I can to all of you.
Well, give us what?
That's what the movement is. It's just love, love, love for other people, not for yourself. Oh, no dogma or anything hard to believe, just love and wanting to give and give. Irene, how are the dogs?
Oh, just fine. The new litter is simply...
Oh, it's such an honor meeting you, Mr. Rochester.
How's Barry, Susan?
I do hope he's all right. I hope so. Have any of you seen him lately?
I saw him last week.
Well, I didn't cable him to meet me at the boat for fear he'd be... Oh, you know, but he is sweet.
Well, then, shouldn't your movement start at home? I mean, if you really want to give...
Irene, darling, you don't understand. One must be ready to receive. One must purify one's soul, confess. Come along, darling, I have something for you.
You think my soul is pure enough?
Darling, this isn't for your soul.
Well, what then?
From Paris, the most ravishing panties you ever saw.
Well, what do you think of her, Leonora?
Susan? I don't know, Clyde. Of course, we two belong to the stage, you and I.
I belong to the stage. You did belong until you were married. Which brings me to something...
Clyde, we were talking with Susan. We belong to the stage. We're used to characters. But Susan, no author could have created her. She's...
Funny thing. Why should Irene be so scared to have both Susan and Barry here together?
I asked Stubby that. He thinks Irene's secretly in love with Barry.
Oh, that's pretty tough for her. And I know just how she...
I say, anyone there?
Who's that?
I don't know. I've never seen him before.
Tall, good-looking. You think he could be...
Barry Drexel. And he'll ask for Susan.
And Irene doesn't want them here together.
Clyde, I'm going...
Now, wait, Leonora, you can't... Yeah, fine thing leaving me to hold the bag.
I beg your pardon. Is Irene, Mrs. Burroughs about?
Oh, well, not at the moment. She went up to change.
I see.
Well, Dad, did you ask about Mother?
I was just about to. Can you tell me, sir, has Mrs. Trexel arrived?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a stranger here myself.
Oh, one of those, huh? I'm Barry Trexel. My wife is expected.
Yes?
And this is my daughter, Blossom.
How do you do? My name is Clyde Rochester.
Oh, the actor. I say, you've given me many a laugh.
Oh, thanks. Can I give you a little something now?
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, you'd rather have information than a drink.
Well, it's about 50-50.
Then I'll try to find someone who knows something. Excuse me.
Thanks.
Dad, maybe Mother did go on to school for me. Maybe I shouldn't have come away.
But I thought that was what you wanted to do, darling.
Well, school was closing. All the other girls were leaving. I didn't want them to think I hadn't any place to go. I suppose that sounds silly to you.
No, not at all. We all like to have some place to go. At least we like people to think we have. That's almost more important than going, isn't it? Huh?
Yes, it is. When you didn't come to the closing exercises, I said you were sick, or they'd have thought I didn't have anyone to come.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to... Look here. If your mother hasn't arrived yet, Irene can put you up tonight, and I'll go back to town.
You want to go back because you're stuck with me?
Oh, no, not at all. It's very nice to be with you. If you don't mind, I don't.
We've been together 4 hours. You're bored to death.
Oh, now, nonsense. 4 hours isn't very long. I mean, look, see here. I've got a real idea. Suppose you and I go over to our place tonight. It isn't far. And the gardener and his wife are there. They might take us in. They seem like very kind people.
Oh, could we? Could we, Dad?
Well, why not?
Oh, that would be wonderful. I'd rather be there than any place in the world. If we could just all be there for a while, I won't even mind going to camp.
But I thought you liked camp.
I hate it. I hate the camp. Why can't we all be together sometime? Why can't we be some sort of a family like other people? Why can't we?
Blossom, I didn't know you felt this way about it. Perhaps if
I beg pardon, sir.
Huh?
Mrs. Burroughs says she's extremely sorry not to see you, but she's in the bath.
Oh, well, I'm sorry not to see her. And Mrs. Trexel, is she also in the bath?
Madame says Mrs. Trexel is expected tomorrow.
Dad, then she did go to the school.
I don't think so, my dear.
Oh, maybe she's had an accident or something. Dad, aren't you worried?
No, not a bit. If Susan is lying in a ditch somewhere, you may be sure she picked it in advance. And it's a perfectly good ditch. Come along, my dear. Let's go home.
Clyde, may I sit down and listen?
If you're very quiet.
Please, Clyde, I'm seeking refuge.
From what?
From Mrs. Trexel, Susan. She's been working on my soul all through dinner.
Oh? Hasn't got you worried, has she?
I don't know. Clyde, I'm so bored. So awfully bored.
Who isn't?
I know I'm not fair to Stubby. I'm not living up to what he expected, and, well, I haven't got the guts to chuck it and go back to the stage.
It's a tough life, the stage. No use kidding yourself about it.
I know. Stubby never believed I wanted to go back to that. You think it was a man, you or someone else.
Well, since it isn't me, I hope you stick this out.
Please don't be noble.
I know one thing, Leonora. I won't do this again. It's torment hanging around, seeing you married to somebody else. I didn't know it would be quite so... Oh, Mrs. Trexel.
These awful moments when we know we've come in at the wrong time. But it would be still worse to go out again, wouldn't it?
Oh, I'm sure you don't ever come in at the wrong time for anyone.
How enchanting of you. I don't wonder it has happened.
What's happened?
Well, I don't know whether you can stand my honesty or not. Everyone at Lady Wiggum's was so beautifully honest, we didn't mind having our worst faults told to us. Only sometimes it's a little upsetting.
If you're looking for sin, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Clyde isn't my sweetheart.
But you're in love with her, Clyde.
Do you call that a sin?
Oh, it needn't be. You could exalt your love and make it marvelous. But first you have to confess it openly.
How can I confess it when everybody's always known it?
Clyde, that's beautiful. Now, if you'd only say that to Stubby, he wouldn't be afraid of you.
Why the big silence?
Stubby, Clyde has just said something brave and beautiful.
Mrs. Trexel, you're kidding.
Now, don't fall down, Clyde. You see, when we run away from things, they become dangerous.
What's dangerous?
Irene, you should have heard Clyde. He just said... Don't listen, Irene. He's trying to make fools of us.
Susan, I'd like to hear what he said.
Stubby, he said it so honestly. Of course, I'm in love with Leonora. All the world has always known it.
What? My wife?
Stubby, be big. Take him by the hand and tell him you trust him.
I'll take him by the seat of the pants and throw him out.
Stubby, dear heart, look at me. Let me say this to you. You've got depths, fine spiritual depths in your nature that you don't know anything about.
Oh, Susan, will you please leave our spiritual depths alone for this weekend?
I can't, Irene. I'd be falling down. Clyde, this is your chance.
What do you want me to do?
Confess, purge your soul, spill your secrets on the wind.
What?
Remember, no matter what we are or what we do, if we're sorry, really and honestly want his help, we can be made over.
Do you believe that, Susan?
Oh, Barry.
If you believe what you just said, I believe it too.
Barry.
Susan, I couldn't help but hear. Do you believe it can be done about me if I ask? Because if you do, I do ask.
Barry, how could you?
It wasn't difficult. I just...
Dad, are you all right?
oh, Blossie, I forgot all about you out there in the car.
I waited. I thought something must have
Yeah,
happened.
but something has happened.
Don't, Barry, don't, please.
Blossom, your mother has just said something that changes the whole stinking rotten world. Susan, I never knew you before. You look like a shining angel. You got stardust in your hair, and I lay these flowers in...
Barry.
The second act of the Lady Esther Screen Guild show will follow in a moment. Now, a word from Lady Esther.
As an American woman, you share a reputation as the world's best shopper. You recognize value almost by instinct. So this should be especially interesting. You see, I have a value for you which I am sure you will instantly recognize and will not want to miss. I mean my 30th anniversary set, my beauty dividend to you, celebrating Lady Esther's 30th year. Right now, your favorite store is featuring my special Lady Esther anniversary set. And here is what it offers you. First, the large $1.38 jar of Lady Esther four-purpose face cream. Second, the 55-cent box of Lady Esther face powder in my flattering new bridal pink shade. Of course, the regular value of these two basic beauty aids is $1.93. But in my special anniversary set, you get both for only 98 cents plus tax. Think of it. You actually save 95 cents on a 98-cent purchase. That's really double value for your money. So make a mental note right now. Go to your favorite store in the morning or telephone and ask for the Lady Esther anniversary package. You will then, at a truly big saving, be well supplied with your two most essential beauty aids to help keep your skin looking smoother, younger, and more romantic. Get your anniversary set. And the first time you use Lady Esther four-purpose face cream and Lady Esther face powder, you will feel your skin is smoother and softer. You will see it looks younger.
And now, Lady Esther presents the second act of Susan and God, starring Betty Davis, Walter Pidgeon, and Paula Winslow. It's been a most disturbing experience for Susan. She's been profoundly shocked. So it's more or less to be expected when we look into her room next morning to find her sleeping like a child.
Susan. 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 Susan, wake up.
Barry, what are you doing in my room?
I want to talk to you.
You can't go away. What time is it?
It's 7 o'clock.
That's outrageous. Go away.
Not until we've talked it out.
You disgraced me last night. You humiliated me. You... Hand me my robe.
Here.
You upset and ruined everything. You don't even know what you did.
Yes, I do, and I'm sorry, Susan. Terribly sorry. That's all I can say.
It's too late for that. Barry, how can I go on? Close the windows, will you? How can you expect me to?
Susan, I'd made up my mind to say to you as soon as you got back, I'll give you the divorce. I give up. You can have it.
Oh, then you do see it at last.
That's what I had meant to do.
What do you mean meant to?
Well, first, I want to ask you something. Is there anyone else you want to marry?
No, there is not. There isn't a man at all. No matter how many people may want to marry me. You can't blame men because our marriage is a failure. That coat's awfully good on you, dear.
Yeah. Thank you. But, Susan, I'm not going to give you the divorce.
Now, Barry, don't wobble back and forth.
When I heard you saying that last night, and sounding as though you really believed it, that no matter what we are or what we've done, that... Listen, Susan, this is what I came in to say. Do you think there's any hope for me?
We can't expect miracles, Barry.
But why not? I want to pull up, Susan, and keep straight, especially for Blossom's sake.
This is very sudden. Why are you so interested in Blossom? You certainly never have been before.
I didn't know how it was. I didn't know how lonely and unhappy that child was.
You've neglected her. I haven't. You've made her fatherless. I haven't. You were with her one day and got tight right before her eyes. Poor dear child. What can I do?
You can open the house and keep her with us this summer.
Both of you under the same roof all summer? I couldn't get through it. You've no right to ask it.
She has a right to ask it. She has a right to expect something of it.
You can't expect me to turn my life upside down just because you're ashamed of yourself for a few minutes. I've had to learn to get along without you. This summer, I'm going to do the most important thing I've ever done in my whole life.
What?
I've promised Lady Wiggum to advance this new movement over here. What you heard me talking about last night.
Oh, that's the bunk, Susan.
I knew you wouldn't know what I was talking about.
I know every word you said is hot air, unless you forget yourself long enough to do this. Will you give me a chance to see what I can do?
And how long would you last, Barry? You'd start off so grandly and then smash. Don't you suppose I'd like to believe you? Don't you suppose I'm tired trying to put things into my life to make up for the things that aren't there?
Yes, I suppose you are.
Nothing else will do, Barry. It's got to be a divorce. I came back thinking I wouldn't ask for one. All the way home I thought maybe Barry is bucked up. And, well, when you walked in last night, I realized how utterly hopeless it was.
Susan, I'll make you a proposition. If you will open the house for the summer, have Blossom and me in it, the first time I slip, if I do, I'll give you the divorce. Now, what do you say?
How could I be sure you will?
Well, I'll put it in writing. You'll have me sewed up. Now, there's my hand on it.
You realize what you're doing, Barry, what you're promising?
I'm promising to give you up forever if I slip. Even if I only last a day, an hour. You win, I lose. I'll take the chance. There's my hand.
Susan, what do you suppose is keeping Barry so long?
He said he was going over to get things ready at the house.
What house?
Our house. We're going to be in it this summer. Isn't it marvelous, Irene?
So marvelous, I don't believe it.
Irene, you don't suppose that Barry could have...
Susan! Hey, Susan!
There he is now. You see, darling, one must have faith.
Yes. I'll go see about lunch.
Susan!
In here, Barry.
Ah, there you are, my love. You see, I bring thee violets. What's the matter, Susan? Oh, you think I'm...
No, I don't. I just told Irene I knew you weren't.
But you thought I was. Maybe you were even hoping I was drunk so you wouldn't have to start our contract. Susan, tell me the truth. Is that it?
No, it isn't, but I've been thinking a lot, Barry, since our talk.
Have you?
If you did stop drinking, it would be wonderful, marvelous, and I want you to, but...
But it wouldn't make you want to live with me again.
Oh, not necessarily, but this is what we forgot. You may not want to live with me again. You don't know me very well anymore, Barry. I've changed a great deal.
Have you?
Let's enter this perfectly honestly, and whatever happens, we'll meet it and be big about it. Whether I want to give you up or you want to give me up. And while we're going through this, Barry, we're friends. Good friends. Nothing more.
I won't ask anything more. Well, at least we know where we are, even if we don't know where we're going, eh? I'll collect Blossom and clear out.
Irene! We're going now. Come and say goodbye.
Oh, why do you go before luncheon?
Oh, we're going to have a marvelous lunch. I adore eating out of a can.
Susan, what you're doing is magnificent. And you'll be awfully happy because you are doing it.
Oh, slush, Irene. That's easy enough for you to say. You're free.
I'll be willing to swap. They both adore you.
And they're going to hang around my neck all summer and choke me to death.
Remember, you have spiritual forces, darling. You can ask God to help.
Irene, sometimes I wish I'd never heard of God.
Susan, I'm home.
In here, Barry, the library.
Susan, you should have seen the putt I sank on the last... Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were busy.
So many details to meet at Newport and Blossom's party. How's your golf, dear?
Good, very good. Well, you know it should be. I played almost every day for 3 months.
Mother, oh, hello, Dad.
Mommy Bob's going to stay for dinner. Do you mind?
Not really.
Dad, can he borrow one of your shirts? His are all...
Sure. Tell him to help himself.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, and Blossie,
Yes?
tell him to be sure and return it. He's 4 up on me now. Susan, doesn't this Bob stay for dinner pretty often?
Oh, you've noticed it then. Only 6 nights a week.
What does that mean?
It means he likes our daughter and our food.
Susan, have you talked to her about...
About what?
You know darn well about what.
Oh, that?
Yeah.
I've done my entire maternal duty. When she was 7, I gave her a book about the wind and the pollen and the flowers. So sweet and so silly.
But you've really done a swell job this summer, Susan. I bet there have been times when you wanted to walk out on us, and you never even let us know it.
Barry, the summer's almost over. Blossom goes back to school in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not put off till the last minute the things we have to say to each other. It's marvelous what you've done, darling, coming home so fit and sure You're perfectly sure of yourself now, aren't you?
Oh, I guess so, thanks to you.
And Irene, she's helped, hasn't she?
Yeah, you bet. She stands up there and swats the ball and pretends she'd rather play golf with me than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Too sweet for me to have to tell you.
Tell me what?
Irene is in love with you, dear. And I think you're in love with her and are afraid to tell me.
Let's leave Irene out of this. You mean the jig is up for you and me, huh?
Well, we've done what we said we would, and...
And drunk or sober, you're through with me.
Oh, Barry, that sounds horrid. I love you in a new way, spiritually, and I want you to be happy. And I want to know that you're free to do what you want to do, and I'm free to go on with my work. Oh, Barry, this summer has been good for me. I've reached a great understanding. I'll go to Newport enriched because of it.
How long are you going to be in Newport?
A week.
Well, that's an awful slice out of Blossom's time. Couldn't you make it a day or so?
Certainly not. They need me. But I shall be back for her party. That's Monday the 26th.
But Saturday is the 26th.
No, it isn't. There must be some mistake. I can't be here Saturday. I can't.
But you've got to. There won't be any party for her without you.
There has to be. I've given up my entire summer. You can't expect me to give up any more. Saturday is my night, the night I lead.
What are you going to do?
Well, in my humble way, I'm going to tell them how I found God.
Are you going to talk about yourself?
Of course, that's its power. Telling the truth about ourselves.
And what are you going to tell?
Well, I'm going to tell them what you've gone through and how gloriously it's turned out.
You can't do that, Susan. It isn't anyone's business what's happened to me. You can't do it, and I forbid it.
You can't?
Oh, but I do.
You're trying to stop my work, God's work.
I don't think you know anything about God, Susan.
How can you say that, Barry, after what God has done for you?
What has he done for me? I bucked up and I've hung on this summer because I thought that maybe it would get you back. Well, that's a flop, and we've cracked up. Oh, what's the use? Anyway, I give up.
Barry!
Mother, why did Dad go off like this? Are you sure he wasn't...
He wasn't drinking. I wish I were as sure of everything as I am of that.
What else could it be?
If he'd only waited, I could have told him I was giving it up. There's only one thing, Irene, of course. I shall be forced to divorce him.
I think I hear someone.
Let him come in here if he has come.
Hello, Susan.
Irene.
Barry's here. I asked him to let me speak to you first.
Run along, Blossom, will you? Why not, Irene? It doesn't matter in the least what you have to say to me.
Barry's been pretty drunk, Susan. If you knew the actual truth of why this happened, you wouldn't be so.
I do know. I know you've pretended to be helping him all summer. That was your method. Your wholesome, healthy method.
For heaven's sake, Susan, what are you saying?
You deny you're in love with Barry, do you?
No. I always have been, and I always shall be. And, Susan, if you give him up now, I'll go after him. And I'll get him, if I can. Well, I'll send Barry in.
Susan?
Yes, Barry.
How much has Irene told you?
She didn't need to tell me anything. She admits she's in love with you, always has been and always will be.
Did she say that? She's been great. She sobered me up, brought me back here.
I know. She stood by you and saw you through. You slipped because I failed you.
No, don't please. I have nobody to blame but myself.
It's my fault after you'd done the hard part, too. 3 whole months coming home so fit and strong.
Oh, there's no use going into all that again. Everything will be all right for you, Susan. Good night.
Barry, wait. I've something to tell you. Turn out those lights, please. It'll make it easier. You don't know how rotten I've been. At first, I hoped you would come home drunk.
I know. I know you did.
And then when you didn't, I began to be awfully pleased with myself and think I was doing it.
Now, don't try to buck me up.
I didn't know anything. Life has come straight back at me. All the things I've been running away from are the only ones I want now. Barry, tell me the absolute truth. Are you in love with Irene?
I'm very fond of Irene.
Oh, then you're not in love with her.
I like her, which is a darn sight more important.
I know, Barry, you're tired of my selfishness. But I want to be so much more to you than I've ever been before. Please, let me try again.
I'm not worth hanging on to. You know that.
Oh, Barry, dearest.
Susan.
Dear God, don't let me fall down again.
On behalf of the Motion Picture Relief Fund, thank you, Walter Pidgeon and Betty Davis, for your superb performances in tonight's play. And now, before we tell you about next week's show, here's a word from one of America's best-known beauty authorities, Lady Esther.
When you own stock in a good company, they send you checks now and then, your dividends on that stock. And you know it's good news when you receive a dividend. That's why, again, I'm offering you a beauty dividend this year. It's my 30th anniversary year, and I want to include you in my celebration. So your favorite store has this beauty dividend waiting for you right now. My special 30th anniversary set, on which you save 95 cents. It provides you with a $1.93 value of Lady Esther face powder and Lady Esther four-purpose face cream for only 98 cents plus tax. You save 95 cents. Here's what you receive. My large-sized jar of Lady Esther four-purpose face cream, the size that sells for $1.38. You receive also the large 55-cent box of Lady Esther face powder in my romantic, exciting new shade, Bridal Pink. It's $1.93 of real value, which as my beauty dividend to you is only 98 cents plus tax. Yes, it's my anniversary, but I would like to share it with you. And I don't want you to risk missing this real double value, this beauty dividend from Lady Esther. So go to your favorite store tomorrow and ask for your Lady Esther anniversary set, your two most essential beauty aids to help you look younger, fresher, and more attractive. And remember, you save 95 cents.
Next week, the Lady Esther Screen Guild players will present Junior Miss. It will star Alan Jocelyn, Barbara Whiting, and Peggy Ann Garner. Be sure to listen. Susan and God was produced and directed by Bill Lawrence and adapted by Harry Cronman from the play by Rachel Crothers. Betty Davis can soon be seen in the Warner Brothers production Deception. Walter Pidgeon can currently be seen in the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Technicolor musical Holiday in Mexico. Music on tonight's program was arranged and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Daylight saving time ends in certain areas at midnight on September 28th. This may change the time at which the Lady Esther Screen Guild players are heard in your community. Please check your local newspaper for the time at which this program will be heard next week and each week thereafter. This is Truman Bradley speaking for Lady Esther. Thank you and good night. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, the Lady Esther Screen Guild players bring you a rare treat. The lovable teenage youngster whom you all know as Junior Miss. Our comedy tonight stars Peggy Ann Garner as Judy, Alan Jocelyn as her father, Barbara Whiting as Buffy, and Frank Nelson as the boss. The Lady Esther Screen Guild players in Junior Miss. nothing wrong with Judy Graves. She's a perfectly normal 13-year-old. But while she happens to love her family dearly...
This family has absolutely no imagination.
Which brings us to a touching domestic scene. A few days before Christmas in a Graves apartment.
Hello, Daddy.
Hello, Judy, darling. Hello, Judy.
Well, what's the matter, Daddy, dear?
Judy, how much money have you saved out of your allowance this month?
91 cents. Oh, and Fluffy Adams owes me a nickel. That makes 96.
Good. Tomorrow, I want you to buy a dozen eggs and a bottle of maple syrup and give them to the janitor.
A present?
No, it seems that's what he lost when he stepped on one of your skates in the lobby.
Oh.
And another thing, stop pasting up pictures in the elevator, please.
Well, I was only trying to help. The elevator looks so drab.
They like it that way, Judy. And until they give you the contract to redecorate it, kindly keep your own power to yourself. Now, I've had a hard day at the office, so...
Daddy, where were you born?
Who wants to know?
My English teacher. I have to write my autobiography for school.
Oh, well, I was born in Brooklyn Heights.
Brooklyn Heights?
I'm sorry, Judy. I wish it were Shanghai. I went to public school, and then Kent, and then to Yale. I met your mother at Smith, and a few years later I married her.
Gee, that's not much of a life.
Well, who do you want for a father, Rasputin?
Buffy's father had a very wild youth.
Well, I'm having a very wild middle age. Now, what else?
What about Mom? Anything happened to her?
Well, she was born in Kansas City. Your grandfather was in the wholesale dry goods business.
All the best people used to push on further west. Wonder why he stayed in Kansas City.
Maybe he liked it there. Maybe he ran out of gas. I'm sure I don't know.
Hello, Dad. Now what'd she do? My charming sister.
Lois, Judy's writing her autobiography, and I'm giving her some facts about the family.
Father, not about Uncle Willis.
Now, Lois, I think...
There she goes again. Daddy, what's there about Uncle Willis that I can't know, too? Judy, aren't you a little young? I'm not addressing you. I'm addressing a man who happens to be our father. Daddy, won't you please tell me about Uncle Willis? I promise. My lips will be sealed.
There's nothing to tell. Your Uncle Willis has been away for a long time.
Away?
Now, let's drop the subject.
Oh, Harry.
And don't discuss it in front of your mother. Yes, Grace?
Oh, I thought I heard you, dear. You'd better hurry. The Curtises are coming for cocktails.
Well, considering the fact that J.B.'s my boss...
That's Buffy. She always rings like that.
Yes, I know she does. She goes bzz, 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 bzz. And you go bzz, 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 bzz. Why can't somebody around here just go bzz?
Hi, Judy. I just finished my autobiography. It's terrific.
I'd love to hear your autobiography, Fuffy.
Well, I left it downstairs, but I can go...
Don't bother, Fuffy. Some other time.
Oh, sure, it'll keep. It'll stay warm for months. It sizzles. Mrs. Graves, can Judy come down to my place for a few minutes?
Well, it's almost time for dinner, and we're expecting guests. Fuffy, you'd better make it some other time.
But they won't be there some other time.
What? Who won't be there?
Our escorts for Mary Caswell's dance on New Year's night. I'm going with Haskell Cummings.
With whom?
Haskell Cummings, Jr. That's his name. I'm going with him if he thinks I'm okay.
Oh, Haskell Cummings, Jr., huh?
Now, Judy, remember, be back in 5 minutes.
Okay, Mom, but, well, geez, that doesn't give him much time to decide.
Sorry we're a little late, Harry. Ellen had to go home from the office to change.
Now, Dad. Now, don't you tease her, J.D. The girl likes to look nice when she's going out.
We couldn't have gotten here any sooner anyway. Oh, Harry, I dropped in on Barton of Cummings, Reed & Barton this afternoon.
Oh, how does it look, J.D.?
Oh, Barton sold on us, and so is Reed. Now, if I can just line up Haskell Cummings, we're on velvet. You know, Harry, if we land that contract, there's no telling what it might mean for you. Say, where are the girls?
Well, Judy's downstairs with a friend, and Lois had a date to go skating.
Getting to the gallivanting age, eh? Reminds me of Ellen when she was a kid. Always had a lot of drugstore cowboys hanging around the house.
They never hung around very long, Dad. You always made them too uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable? Well, if I remember rightly, I used to take you and your boyfriends every place.
Yes, Dad, you certainly did.
Oh, Grace, what about the drink?
Oh, yes, I was...
Now, wait a minute. This is the Yuletide season. You let me make you a hot toddy, the like of which you've never seen. Come on, Grace, just show me that kitchen, that's all.
You're right, J.B. It's the first door.
Ellen, I guess it's just your father's manner. He's sort of overpowering.
Yes. Thanks for changing the subject, Harry. I was just about to say something.
And it's high time you did, too, the way he keeps treating you like a 10-year-old.
I suppose I should say something.
Ellen, you know what you ought to do? Get out of the office for a month. Get down to Bermuda and bicycle.
Fat chance.
If I'm out of his sight for 2 minutes, he gets panicky.
But you have your own life to lead. It's no good for you being with him at the office all day, keeping house for him, entertaining for him, having to make his friends your friends.
And most of them pretty boys.
And the longer you keep it up, the worse it'll get.
Yes, I know. I'll work it out some way. Harry, I don't know what I'd do without you. You're a darling.
Hey, I haven't been kissed by anyone but Grace for years.
I'll let her kiss Dad. What's that?
What? I didn't hear anything.
I thought the door closed.
Oh, the wind, probably. This apartment's pretty drafty. But no fooling, Ellen. I'm not going to stand by and see you waste your life. One of these days, you and I are going to do something about it. Now, if I come along, your father may need some help with those things.
Hello, Joe. This is Judy. Ring Fluffy Adams' apartment, will you? Thanks. Hello, Fluffy. It's Judy. You've got to meet me in the park tomorrow afternoon by the Bolivar statue. Uh-huh. I just saw something perfectly awful. I'm afraid there's a crisis going on in this house. What's it all about, Judy? What's the mystery? What's up? Have a Fig Newton. Thanks, Fluffy. Before I say anything, I want you to take a sacred vow that this will die with us. Naturally. What is it, Judy? Well, remember that picture where Clark Gable was married to Joan Crawford and Myrna Loy was the secretary? Remember? Oh, brother. Well, I think that same thing is developing between my father and Ellen Curtis. But she's got glasses. So did Myrna Loy when she started out. But after she took them off and got those beauty treatments, she looked gorgeous. That's right, she did. Judy, are you sure? Positive. I saw Ellen kiss my father. Rat hole? May I swallow a live rat hole if I'm lying? I'll take another Fig Newton. Golly, if it were my father, I wouldn't be surprised. But your father's nice to your mother. That's what makes it so awful. Gee, I'd hate to see Mom in Joan Crawford's position. Then you'd better do something and do it quick, 'cause you know what'll happen. Reno. Then I'll be 6 months with my father and 6 months with my mother, and I'll never have a place to call my own. And they'll always be fighting about alimony. Oh, it's perfectly awful. Can I have another Fig Newton? You just ate the last. Boy, what a mess passion makes out of people's lives. Fluffy, there must be some way out. Well, come on. Maybe we can think of something on the way to the movies. The movies? Well, you don't think I could go to the movies with this on my mind. But you can't miss this picture. It's divine. I saw it when it was at the Roxy. It's all about this fella who's drooling over this woman, and the fella's brother doesn't like her. I think I've seen it. No, it just sounds familiar. So the brother gets a friend of his who's tall and handsome with the most divine smile, and he takes the woman away from the other brother. You see, it's thrilling. Well, after all, I do have a lot on my mind. Maybe a little escape would be good for me. Sure it would. You just got to stop worrying about your family for a while, or you'll have a mental collapse like Betty Davis. Which picture was that? Any Betty Davis picture. She always has collapses. Come on, Willie, let's go. Hilda. Yeah? Hilda, how long have you worked for this family?
3 years. With time off for good behavior.
I'm serious, Hilda. Have you ever known my father to... Well, I mean to...
Say, what are you dreaming up now, Judy?
I'm not dreaming up anything.
Well, just the same, you should be in bed by now. When your folks went out, they told me that... Oh, now who could that be?
I'll go, Hilda. Yes?
Hello. You're Lois, aren't you?
I should say not.
Oh, isn't this the Graves apartment?
Yes, but everybody's out.
Wait a minute. Don't tell me you're Judy.
Yes, I am.
Oh, no wonder. It's been so long since I saw you. I'm your mother's brother, Willis.
Willis? Uncle Willis?
That's right.
Oh, gee, come on in. Why didn't you say you were my Uncle Willis?
Well, I didn't think you'd know who I was.
Oh, I know all about you. You've been away for a long time, haven't you?
Yes, a very long time. And now that I'm back, what do you think?
Well, you're awfully pale and... Pale? Of course you're pale. Who wouldn't be? When did they let you out?
What?
Oh, I know. You'd rather not talk about it. Forgive me. I'll never mention it again.
All right. Well, you still haven't told me if you like me or not.
Oh, it's wonderful to meet you, Uncle Willis, and such a surprise. You're not at all like I imagined you.
Did I turn out better or worse?
Oh, much better. You're so good looking for an uncle. I mean, you're tall and handsome, and you've got a divine smile. Golly, you have. Just like the brother's friend.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, you wouldn't understand. I mean...
Well, I'll try again tomorrow. If you'll just tell your mother I was here...
Oh, Uncle Willis, you're not going.
Well, it's getting late. I thought...
Oh, but you can't. You just can't. You've got to stay here.
Oh, Judy, you're very sweet.
Mother wouldn't hear of anything else. Hilda!
Judy, no use waking all the neighbors.
Hilda, this is my Uncle Willis, and he's going to stay with us tonight.
He is. And may I ask where?
Well, in our room. Lois can sleep on the couch in the living room.
And where are you going to sleep?
With you.
He was afraid of that.
Now, look here, I don't want to cause any trouble.
No, you don't have a chance, sir, with that one around. Now, if you come with me, I'll show you to your room.
Very well. Oh, well, Judy, it looks as if you've captured me. But I am rather tired. I could use some sleep. Good night, my dear.
Oh, Uncle Willis.
Yes?
You're not married, are you?
Not yet.
Good. Good night. Hello, Joe. Get me Fuffy Adams. It's very, very important. Fuffy, remember the tall, handsome fellow with the divine smile? Well, Fuffy, he's here. He's my Uncle Willis.
The second act of the Lady Esther Screen Guild show will follow in a moment. Now, a word from Lady Esther.
Did you ever have the good luck to find a forgotten dollar bill tucked away in some purse or handbag you hadn't used for a long time? And you remember how pleasantly you were surprised? Well, right now I'm going to tell you how you can have just such a pleasant surprise again. If you will go into your favorite store and ask to see my Lady Esther 30th anniversary set, I'm sure you'll be surprised and delighted. Because this anniversary set is a $1.93 value which you get for only 98 cents plus tax. You save 95 cents on this attractively packaged set. Now, that's not quite $1, but it is 95 cents. You see, the set contains my large $1.38 jar of Lady Esther four-purpose face cream, and in addition, the boudoir-size 55-cent box of Lady Esther face powder in bridal pink, my new shade, which is so very flattering. The $1.38 jar of cream and the 55-cent box of powder together make a regular value of $1.93. But you get both in my anniversary set for only 98 cents plus tax. You save 95 cents, and that is certainly like finding a lucky dollar. But I must caution you to be prompt. There are only a few days left in which you can get this anniversary set. It's being bought up very fast. So do go to your favorite store and ask for the Lady Esther anniversary set early tomorrow. I don't want even one of you to be disappointed by being too late.
And now, Lady Esther presents the second act of Junior Miss, starring Alan Jocelyn, Peggy Ann Garner, Barbara Whiting, and Frank Nelson. I believe we agreed a little earlier that Judy is a perfectly normal girl. The trouble is, her family has no imagination. And so, a little later, when her parents get home and Mrs. Graves looks into Judy's room...
Harry! Harry, there's a man in Judy's bed!
That means a rude awakening for Uncle Willis. Explanations, embraces, and a flock of questions.
Oh, Willis, you've no idea how we worried. Not even knowing where you were. Why didn't you write?
I figured I'd caused you enough trouble, Grace.
Nonsense. It could have happened to anyone.
Well, anyway, I've got it licked now. Haven't touched a drop in 4 years.
And no hankering?
Not a single hanker.
Oh, Willis, that's wonderful. Judy's grown so much, she must have surprised you.
I'll say. She thinks I've done a 10-year stretch in jail.
What?
I'll talk to her in the
no,
morning.
Please don't. I want to give her a chance to help me go straight.
Don't you see? It's perfect, Fuffy. Uncle Willis and Ellen were just made for each other. Well, Judy, you know and I know, but how are they going to find out? Well, I've got a date with Ellen this afternoon. We're going skating. And I thought maybe I'd sort of ask Uncle Willis. I get it. He goes along, too, and they meet, and it's love at first sight. Oh, no. It wouldn't work. Not while she's wearing those glasses. Well, Fuffy, maybe she won't be wearing them. Huh? Well, I mean, You know, sometimes she takes them off and asks me to hold them while she fixes her hair. And, Fluffy, if I just happened to drop them...
Judy, you wouldn't.
I certainly would. After all, Fluffy, it's to save my family. No fooling, Judy. You mean it worked? Just like a charm. There they were, standing on the skates, and I introduced them. And then Uncle Willis bowed, and, well, I guess his skate slipped, and, well...
Can you beat that? He really fell for her.
Fluffy told her on the phone tonight, and guess what? He made a date. Fluffy, 5 nights in a row, and the afternoons, too. Now, if you'll just ask her out for New Year's Eve... Fluffy, he did. He dated Ellen for New Year's Eve.
Gee, that's the biggest night of the year. Won't your father be annoyed?
Doesn't matter if he is. He'll just have to be satisfied with Mom.
Boola, 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 boola.
Harry, it's 4 o'clock. You'll wake the children.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, you're absolutely right. Boola, boola, boo.
What's the matter?
I was just thinking about Yale and all the fun I used to have with Itchy Burton. Good old Itchy. I wonder if Itchy ever changed his name.
You'd better get to bed, dear.
You're a wonderful fella. Now look at him, living in Sandusky, Ohio. He must be awfully lonesome. I think I'll write and wish him a Happy New Year. Where's the paper?
Not tonight, dear. You can write tomorrow.
But Grace, he's lonesome.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. Everybody in Sandusky's lonesome. Sandusky's the most lonesomest town in the world. Darling, what's the matter? Well, you look. What's worrying you?
The way you're going to feel in the morning.
Oh, my head. Oh, my head.
Good morning, Daddy. Happy New Year.
Judy, please, do you have to shout?
I wasn't shouting.
Here you are, Harry. This will make you feel better.
Oh, no, I don't...
No, drink it all, dear. That's it. I put an egg in it.
Well, you might have warned me. I thought for a minute I'd swallowed my tongue.
Daddy, they say if you're grouchy on New Year's, you'll be grouchy all year round.
I expect to be.
Oh, that's Fluffy. That's her ring.
Oh, no.
Sure, Daddy. Can't you hear the door?
Wait till I get my ears back on.
Hiya, Slop. Happy New Year, everybody.
Oh, no.
Hello, Fluffy. How are your parents?
Not so hot. They sent me up here to play.
Well, you'll have to play very quietly. This family isn't so hot either. Come along, Grace. I think I'll lie down for a while if you'll help me.
Fluffy, guess what? Ellen just phoned and said that she and Uncle Willis are coming over with a big surprise. You think they're married? Well, they were having breakfast together.
What a man, Willis. Well, I guess that puts the skids under your old man.
Isn't it wonderful, Fluffy?
I'll say. If it hadn't been for your Uncle Willis, this family might have been gone with the wind.
I know, and I'm going to do everything I can for him. I mean, help him go straight and get a job. There's the bell. That must be Ellen and Uncle Willis now.
Well, aren't you going to open the door?
Hilda can do it. I wouldn't want to embarrass them. They might feel that...
Happy New Year, Hilda. Happy New Year.
Oh, it's only Daddy's boss.
His boss?
Hey, Judy, this might be your chance. You know, to get a job for Fluffy, that's right. And he's Ellen's father, too. I better handle him alone.
Sure, I have to go anyway. I got to change the ice pack on my father's head. See you later, Judy. Happy New Year, Mr. Curtis.
Oh, thank you, my dear. And you, Judy. Happy New Year, stout fella.
Same to you, Mr. Curtis. Daddy's lying down.
Got kicked by a mule, huh? Well, I've got some news for him that's going to make him feel like a new man. Go tell him I'm here.
Yes, sir. Mr. Curtis, may I ask you something?
Well, sure, go ahead.
Mr. Curtis, if you knew of a man who'd been in prison, but he paid his debt to society and was trying to make a new life for himself, how would you feel toward him?
Like a brother, Judy.
That's what I thought. And you'd want to help him, wouldn't you? Give him a job, I mean.
Oh, anytime. I'd just love to fill my office with a gang of ex-convicts.
Well, gee, that's swell, Mr. Curtis. Count of Ellen, I mean.
Ellen? What about Ellen?
Well, if she's going to get married, he'll need a job somewhere.
Ellen married? What the devil are you gibbering about?
Oh, nothing. I wasn't gibbering about anything.
Tell me what you were starting to say.
Well, I was only going to say that, well, I think Ellen and my Uncle Willis are in love. That's all.
Your Uncle Willis? I never heard of him.
I know. We never talk about him. He's been away for years.
Away? Where?
You know. He's the one I was telling you about. The one you're going to give the job to. Ellen's fiancé.
Stop saying that. Ellen's not in love with anybody. Harry, where the devil are you?
Why, J.B.
What's the matter, J.B.? What's wrong?
Wrong? What's the idea of letting my daughter run around with that jailbird brother of yours?
He's not my brother.
He's my
and
brother.
He's not a jailbird.
That's what this little brat of yours told me.
Oh, her. That kid's liable to say anything.
Judy, did you tell Mr. Curtis that he was...
True, Mommy. Ellen knows Uncle Willis all right.
There, you see? If you've gotten my daughter mixed up with a jailbird...
J.B., you needn't yell. Everyone in the building can hear you.
Well, let him hear. I'm going to keep right on yelling till I get the truth.
Well, Dad, you're going to get it now.
Ellen!
Dad, we called you at home. You weren't there.
Of course you couldn't be there, sir. You were here.
Ellen, who is this man?
That's what I wanted to tell you, Dad. This is Willis Reynolds, my husband. Honest, it was pretty awful, Fluffy. Daddy got mad, Mr. Curtis got even madder, and he fired Daddy, and you should have heard the shouting.
I can imagine. Aren't families drab? But golly, Judy, what are you going to do? I mean, if your father isn't working or anything.
I guess we'll all have to pitch in. Maybe I can get a job.
A job? What kind of a job?
Oh, any kind of a job, just to begin with. Even if it's only $35 or $40 a week.
Sure, anything for a start. Judy, you won't let this keep you from the party tonight.
Well, I really should stay home. But after all, Haskell Cummings is expecting to take me.
That's right, he is.
And besides, maybe I need a little escape.
You sure do. And, Judy, I just want to tell you one thing.
What?
When my crisis comes, I just hope I can face it as bravely as you.
But, Judy, if you tie that bow in front like that, it makes you look like you're...
Hilda! Don't be vulgar.
Oh, now who could that be? Come in!
Shouldn't scream like that, Hilda. Might be Haskell Cummings, and I wouldn't want him to think that...
Good evening, if you want to call it that.
Oh, Mr. Curtis. Oh, Daddy and Mommy are in their room, and I don't think they want...
I don't care what they want or don't want. Is Ellen here?
No, sir. She left with Uncle Willis about an hour ago, and they didn't say when they'd be back.
All right, then, I'll wait. I'll wait if it takes me 10,000 years, you hear?
Yes, sir.
Oh, if she'd only come to me. Told me. But behind my back. As though I hadn't been a good father. As though I hadn't tried... Oh, stop that phone.
Yes, sir. Hello? Oh, just a minute. Judy, there's a Mr. Haskell Cummings in the lobby.
Gee, Hilda, already?
Haskell Cummings? Did you say Haskell Cummings?
Yes, sir.
Here, tell him to wait.
Say, you. Tell him to wait.
So, that's his idea, is it?
Oh, Mr. Curtis, if you mean...
Suppose you mind your own business, young lady.
Well, after all, Haskell Cummings...
Get out of here! Get out before I commit justifiable homicide!
For J.B., are you at it again?
Harry, it's hard to believe you'd do a thing like this to me.
Do what?
Just because I fired you in a moment of vexation, I didn't think you'd try to steal Haskell Cummings.
Huh?
Now, look here, Harry. I've been through a good deal today. I don't claim I've been 100% right, but heaven knows I've had provocation. I think you ought to meet me halfway at least.
But, J.B.
Now, here's my proposition, short and simple. You get a junior partnership, and you bring in Cummings, Reed, and Barton as clients.
J.B., I honestly don't know what
Oh, playing hard to get, huh? All right, I'll give that brother-in-law of yours a job, too. Is it a deal?
Deal?
It's a deal, and my word's just as good as a contract. Hello? It's okay now. You can send Mr. Cummings up.
Send Mr. Cummings up?
Sure, Daddy. Don't you remember? He's going to take me to the party.
Yes. Wait a minute. Do you mean Haskell Cummings, Jr.?
Of course. I don't even know his father.
You mean you let me go on thinking...
Judy, you've either just made me a junior partner or I'm going to get fired all over again. But, J.B., just in case you want to know, Haskell Cummings invited Grace and me for supper tonight.
Huh?
Haskell Cummings Sr. Well, now, if you'd like to reconsider our deal...
Who said anything about reconsidering? You ought to know me. A deal's a deal.
Well, Daddy, I guess you can settle this without me, so... Well, I wouldn't want to keep Haskell waiting.
Sure thing, Judy. You run right along.
Good night, Daddy.
Good night, dear.
Good night, Mr. Curtis.
Huh?
Daddy, tell Mommy good night for me. Happy New Year, everybody.
Well, what do you know? She kissed me. Yeah, quite a girl you've got there, Harry. Quite a girl.
Well, J.B., we kind of like her.
Thank you, Ellen, Jocelyn, Peggy Ann Garner, and Barbara Whiting for your delightful performances in tonight's play. The Lady Esther Screen Guild players are grateful indeed for your appearance here, because, as you know, the benefits from these programs go to support the fine work of the Motion Picture Relief Fund and its country house. And now, before we tell you about next week's show, here's a word from one of America's best-known beauty authorities, Lady Esther.
I want to apologize to you who have been so nice as to write and thank me for my Lady Esther anniversary set. I wish I could answer each of you personally, but I simply can't do it. There have been so many of your kind letters. Some of you wrote you were unable to get the anniversary set. Your store had sold out. But I'm sure you will now find they've received more sets since then. And I know you'll be pleased with this $1.93 value, which you get for only 98 cents plus tax. This attractively packaged set gives you my large $1.38 jar of Lady Esther four-purpose face cream, and in addition, the boudoir-size 55-cent box of Lady Esther face powder, my flattering new shade Bridal Pink. As you see, this makes a regular value of $1.93, but you get both for only 98 cents plus tax. You save 95 cents, almost $1, a lucky dollar. However, there are only a few days left if you want one of my Lady Esther anniversary sets. So many of you have written me that the value is actually more than you expected, and the sets are going awfully fast. But try your favorite store again tomorrow. If you do, I'm quite sure you'll get a set, and I know you'll be happy with it.
Next week, the Lady Esther Screen Guild players will present The Old Lady Shows Her Medals. It will star Ethel Barrymore, Lionel Barrymore, and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. Be sure to listen. Junior Miss was produced and directed by Bill Lawrence, adapted by Harry Cronman, and was presented through the courtesy of 20th Century Fox, producers of Darrell F. Zanuck's The Razor's Edge by Somerset Maugham. Junior Miss was based on the book by Sally Benson and is the subject of a radio series presented by Wolf Associates Incorporated. Peggy Ann Garner and Barbara Whiting can now be seen in the 20th Century Fox picture Home Sweet Homicide. Alan Jocelyn can soon be seen in the Columbia picture The Thrill of Brazil. Music on tonight's program was arranged and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Tonight's Lady Esther Screen Guild show is being heard by our servicemen and women overseas through the worldwide shortwave and network facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. This is Truman Bradley speaking for Lady Esther. Thank you, and good night. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, Lady Esther celebrates one of the truly great occasions in the history of the Screen Guild players. Two distinguished theatrical families contribute their talents to a famous play by a delightful and witty author. Lady Esther brings you Miss Ethel Barrymore, Mr. Lionel Barrymore, and Mr. Douglas Fairbanks, Jr. in J.M. Ferry's play, The Old Lady Shows Her Medals. And since most good plays have a preface, here is Mr. Barrymore with ours. Mr. Barrymore.
You know, most playwrights have an attitude. They'll tell you no one completely understands their characters. Not even the actors who read the lines, who, so to speak, put the flesh upon a skeleton of words. Well, we have a brilliant author tonight, and a most distinguished cast. I don't mean to provoke a discussion, but after all, we want to do this play for you, so I'm sure that Ethel and Doug won't mind if Mr. Barry speaks up occasionally and has his little word or two. And that being mutually agreed upon, I think it's time that we let the author set the scene. place is London during the war. The war to end all wars. You know, the one before the last one. Three nice old ladies and a criminal, who was even nicer, are discussing the war over a bit of refreshment. Mrs. Dowie, the hostess, who also happens to be our criminal, is the first to speak.
Ladies, do you have another dish of tea?
You notice she calls it a dish of tea, which shows that she's Scotch. Oh, but that's not a crime, though.
Thank you, Mrs. Dowie. I believe I will. Very kind, I'm sure. So will I. Do you like them?
Now, these nice old ladies are London charwomen, professionally called Charwoman and, or simply Anns, which mean that they're caretakers, too. Oh, but Mrs. Haggerty, she's just a charwoman and nothing else. Mrs. Haggerty, as a matter of fact, is not at our party by invitation. She simply tagged along after the others, and so shuffled into the play against our wish. Oh, I imagine we could remove her, but since she slipped in, we let her stay, provided she keeps quiet.
Thank you, Mr. Arthur.
Now then, Mrs. Dowie knows, of course, that she is a criminal. But unlike the author, she has no idea she's going to be found out. So, all of these four lively old codgers, Mrs. Dowie is the merriest, as she presses more tea upon her guests.
Come, ladies, another dish of tea. Just one more winkle, Mrs. Mickleham. Thank you, Mrs. Dowie. I'm up to there.
As a matter of fact, there's only one winkle left, and the Haggerty woman has her eye on that.
I dare say I should know, and I say it is.
Mrs. Twimley is annoyed. Someone must have contradicted her.
That's what I say, it is. And I say it may be so. I suppose I ought to know, me that has a son a prisoner in Germany.
She scored with that one. But watch the others rally now.
My son is fighting in France. Mine was wounded in 2 places. Mine's at Saloniki. Oh, Saloniki. Excuse me, Mrs. Haggerty, but the correct pronunciation is Saloniki. I don't think, and I speak as one that has war-saving certificates. And haven't we all? By the way, I had a letter from my Percy yesterday. My Alfred sent me his photo. Letters from Saloniki is less common.
Well, Mrs. Dowie, you old rogue, will you let yourself be outdone by them? Show them your packet of letters. Go on.
My Kenneth writes to me every week. Look at these, all his. Well, Alfred has little time for writing, being a bombardier. Oh, it isn't just how often he writes. Tell me, do your letters begin, Dear Mother? Generally, every time. Kenneth's begin, Dearest Mother.
Hey, that was a knockout blow. But go ahead, Mrs. Twimley. Do your best now.
You're Kenneth, Mrs. Dowie. A short man, I should say, judging by yourself. 6'2" and a half. Oh. A kiltie, did you tell me? He's in the famous Black Watch. Oh, indeed. Well, we can't all be kilties. That's very true. Mrs. Dowie, this Kenneth of yours, has he got great airy legs? Tremendous. As a matter of fact, I might even say...
Excuse me, old lady, I'll have to stop you there. Naturally, you don't know it yet, but your nemesis is about to enter. Nemesis, in this case, is the Reverend Mr. Willings. Mr. Willings has led a rather drab existence, but happily for him, he'll never know it. On the contrary, he always thinks of himself as in the thick of things. Now, as he enters, his smile is triumphant, for he knows that he's in the thick of them again.
No, ladies, please, I really can't stay. Only long enough to tell you, that is.
What?
Friends, I have news.
News from the front, my Alfred, sir.
I tell you all at once that all is well. The news is from Mrs. Dowie.
News for me?
Your son, Mrs. Dowie. He has got 5 days' leave.
My son? Are you sure?
Quite sure. He's arrived.
Arrived? In London?
Yes, indeed. I've spoken to him.
Mrs. Dowie, you lucky woman. Oh, congratulations.
Ladies, believe me, it's quite a romance. I was in the Church Army quarters in Central Street when suddenly, I can't account for it, but suddenly my eyes alighted on a Highlander seated rather drearily on a bench with his kit at his feet.
A big man, Reverend?
A great brawny fellow.
Oh.
My friend, I said, welcome back to Blighty. I make a point of calling it Blighty. I wonder, I said, if there's anything I can do for you. He shook his head. What regiment, I asked. Black Watch, 5th Battalion, he said. Name, I asked. Dowie, he said.
I declare, I do declare.
I put my hand on his shoulder like this. Kenneth Dowie, I said, I know your mother.
What did he say to that?
He was incredulous. Indeed, he seemed to think I was balmy. So I offered to bring him straight to you.
Bring him to me. I wonder he needed to be brought.
Oh, he just arrived and was bewildered by the great city. He listened to me in the taciturn Scotch way, and then he gave me a curious laugh.
Laugh?
The Scotch Mrs. Twimley expressed their emotions differently from us.
Oh.
When I'd finished, he said at once, let us go and see the old lady.
You mean he's coming?
More than that, Mrs. Dowie. I mean, he's here.
Well, now, old lady, you're up against it, aren't you? You know you haven't any son, and yet here he is. You're frightened, of course. You wonder how it'll all turn out. Well, so do we, as a matter of fact, so let's get on with it. Let's get the others decently out, and let's face Private Dowie as he comes down the stairs.
Well, how about it, missus? You recognize your loving son?
I'm pleased I wrote so often, mister.
And I imagine you'll tell me those are my answers, that packet of letters you got in your hand.
Well...
Here, let me see them. Well, they're all in order, apparently, all addressed in pencil to Mrs. Dowie, marked open by censor. Hello. Nothing but blank paper inside. Is this your writing on the envelope?
Yes.
Oh, that's it, eh? The Covey told me you were a charwoman, so I suppose you picked the envelopes out of wastepaper baskets or such like and then changed the addresses, eh?
Yes.
Well, I've got a good mind to...
Oh, no. Don't you burn them letters, mister.
Oh, why not? They're not real letters.
They're all I have.
I thought you had a son.
I never had a man, nor a son, nor anything. I just called myself Mrs. to give me a stand-in.
Well, it's past my seeing through. What made you do it?
It was everybody's war, mister, except mine. I wanted it to be my war, too.
Well, you'll need to be plainer. Yet I'm cursed if I care to hear you, you lying old trickster. So I'll be getting on.
Already?
Of course. I just came here to give you an ugly piece of my mind.
Well, you haven't given it to me yet.
You have got a cheek.
Yes, sir. You wouldn't drink some tea.
Eh? I tell you, I just came here to blaze away at you.
Oh, well, you could blaze away while you was drinking tea. And there's Winkles.
Winkles where?
Right here in the... Oh, well, there was Winkles. Mrs. Haggerty must have got the last.
Well, it doesn't matter. I wouldn't touch her, Winkles, not me. You're just a common rogue.
Yes, sir.
Now then, out with it. I want the truth.
It's God's truth. My name is Dowie, mister.
No, it's enough to make me change mine. Go on.
I've been charing as far back as I mind. I've been in London these 20 years.
We'll skip your early days. I have an appointment.
And then when I was old, the war broke out.
Well, how could that affect you?
Oh, mister, that's the thing. It didn't affect me. It affected everybody but me. The neighbors looked down on me. Even the posters on the walls of the woman saying, "Go, my boy," leered at me. I sometimes cried by myself in the dark. You wouldn't have a cup of tea?
No.
Then suddenly, like the idea come to me, to pretend I had a son.
You depraved old liar. But what in the name of Old Nick made you choose me out of the whole British Army?
Maybe, mister, because I liked you best.
Oh, now, woman.
I read one day in the papers in which he was assisted by Private K. Dowie, 5th Battalion, Black Watch.
Did you now? Well, I expect that's the only time I ever was in the papers. And how did you guess the K stood for Kenneth?
Does it? An angel whispered it to me in my sleep.
Well, that's the only angel in the whole black business. Yeah, you little thought I'd turn up, did you? Or did you?
I was beginning to be weary for the sight of you, Kenneth.
What word was that?
Mister.
Well, I hope you're pleased with me now that you see me.
I'm very pleased. Does your folk live in Scotland?
Aye, in Glasgow.
Both living?
Aye.
Is your mother terrible proud of you?
Naturally.
And we going on to them?
Well, after I've had a skite in London first.
So she's in London?
Who?
Your young lady.
Aye, and if she is, are you jealous?
Not me.
You needn't be. She's a young thing.
You surprise me. A beauty, no doubt.
You may be sure she's a titled person, too. And in the magazines, you're always reading of her.
I am.
If you can read. But she's been good to me. Send me a lot of good things she has, especially cakes and a worsted waistcoat with a loving message on the enclosed card. But it was the cakes that...
Mister, won't you try one of my cakes?
No, not me.
They're my own making.
No, I thank you.
Oh, but you must. You must. Here is one that Mrs. Haggerty had no chance to... What's the matter, mister? The way you look. Tell me.
That's exactly the kind of cake her ladyship sends me.
And was the waistcoat right, mister? I hope the black watch colors pleased you.
I never mentioned the colors. Now, wait a minute. Was it you? Well, was it?
I daren't give my own name, you see, and I was always reading here in the papers.
Woman, is there no getting rid of you?
I hope I haven't made you angry.
Oh, the devil. Give me some tea.
The second act of the Lady Esther Screen Guild play will follow in a moment. Now, a word from Lady Esther.
Tonight, for the last time, I remind you. If you would like one of my special 30th anniversary sets, you must go at once to your favorite store and get one. Unless you do go right away, I'm afraid you'll find none left, and I'll not be able to offer these sets again. It's really important. If you want one of my Lady Esther 30th anniversary sets, don't put it off another day. This specially packaged set is a regular $1.93 value, but you can have it for only 98 cents plus tax. You save 95 cents, and I am sure that you will find it an even greater value than you expect, as so many women have written to tell me. You see, here's what my anniversary set contains. A large $1.38 jar of Lady Esther four-purpose face cream, and in addition, the 55-cent box of Lady Esther face powder in my very flattering new bridal pink shade. Together, these two Lady Esther products represent a regular value of $1.93, but both are yours in my anniversary set for only 98 cents plus tax. That's a saving of 95 cents. And if that's not like finding $1, it is like finding 95 cents. And so I do hope that none of you who would like to have one of these sets will be disappointed. That's why I say again, please go to your favorite store or telephone at once and ask for your Lady Esther 30th anniversary set. If you put it off, I'm afraid you'll find them all gone. Don't let that happen, will you? And remember, you save 95 cents.
And now, Lady Esther presents the second act of The Old Lady Shows Her Medals, starring Ethel Barrymore, Lionel Barrymore, and Douglas Fairbanks, Jr. Now, once again, Lionel Barrymore takes over the author's duties.
Well, now, Mrs. Dower, you're in glory, aren't you? There he is, big as life, sitting at your table, eating your food. No wonder you hover behind his chair. No wonder you keep murmuring.
Kenneth. Kenneth.
What's that you said?
Nothing. Just Kenneth. Will you have another dish of tea?
Maybe I will. But don't you go thinking for 1 minute, missus, that you've got me.
Oh, no.
No, just as long as we understand each other. Besides, I have a theater tonight. So, here's to you old mop and pail. Ave atque vale.
What's that?
That means hail and farewell. It's Latin.
Oh, are you a scholar?
Well, being Scots, there's almost nothing I don't know.
You're a proper man to look at, Kenneth.
I am generally admired.
She's an enviable woman.
Who?
Your mother.
Huh? Oh, that. That was just protecting myself. I have neither father, nor mother, nor wife, nor grandmama. This party never even knew who his proud parents were.
Is that true?
It's gospel.
Heaven be praised.
No, none of that. I was a fool to tell you. And don't think you can take advantage of it. Pass the cake.
I dare say it's true. We'll never meet again, Kenneth.
I wouldn't wager on it. When I get to Paris, no doubt I'll find you waiting for me with a cup of tea.
Oh, Kenneth. If just once before I die I could be fitted for a Paris gown with a dreamy corsage. Oh.
What is it?
Hairy legs.
Mind your manners. Anyway, I must be stepping. Thank you for my tea.
Not at all. Where are you living?
Well, there's a place called The Hut where some of the 2nd Battalion are. They'll take me in. Beggars can't be choosers.
Beggars?
Well, I've never been here before. If you know what it means to be in a place like London without a friend, you know it.
That's my condorum, too, Kenneth.
Well, I'm sorry for you, you poor old lady. But I see no way out for either of us.
Do you not?
Are you at it again?
Kenneth, I've heard that what a man on leave longs for more than anything else is a bed with sheets and a bath.
And you never heard anything truer.
Well, then, Kenneth Dowie, open that door, the door to the pantry.
Yes?
Now lift the dresser top and tell me what you see.
Well, it's a kind of a bath.
You could bath yourself there, pretty Kenneth, half at a time.
But I...
And that isn't all. You think this is a wardrobe, don't you? But when I open the door, you see a bed.
Whoosh! That's the dodge we need in the trenches.
That's your bed, Kenneth.
Mine? Well, what about you?
Oh, there's a woman next door who'll give me a shakedown till your leave is up.
Ah, you queer old divot. What can make you so keen to be burdened with a lump like me? I tell you, I'm the commonest kind of man.
And I'm just the commonest kind of old wifey myself.
I've been a kickabout all my life, and I'm no great shakes at the war.
Yes, you are. How many Germans have you killed?
Well, just 2 for certain, and there was no glory in it. It was just they wanted my shirt.
Have you took prisoners?
Well, once I took half a dozen.
But how could one man take half a dozen?
The usual way. I surrounded them. You know, this mattress is on the fairest side. Old lady, if you really want me to, I'll bide.
Oh.
But mind you, I don't accept you as a relation.
Oh.
For your personal glory, you can go on pretending to the neighbors. But the best I can promise you is you're on probation. I'm a cautious character, but we must see how you'll turn out.
Yes, Kenneth.
And now I think for that bath. My theater begins at 6:30, and I wouldn't want to be...
What is it, Kenneth?
The theater. I just happened to think it would be showier if I took a lady.
Kenneth, tell me this instant what you mean. Don't keep me on the jumps.
No, it couldn't be done.
Was it me you were thinking of?
Just for a moment. But you have no style.
Not in this, of course, but oh, Kenneth, you saw me in my merino. It's laced up the back in the very latest.
Oh.
You can see for yourself. It's right here in the drawer. There, Kenneth, look.
Yeah, it looks not so bad. But have you got a bit of chiffon for the neck? It's not the bombs nor the Kaisers nor Tipperary that men think of in the trenches. It's chiffon.
I swear I have, Kenneth. And I have a bangle and a muff and gloves.
Aye. Tell me, do you think you could give your face a less homely look?
Oh, yes, Kenneth. I'm sure I could.
Very well, then. You can have a try.
And so he leaves you, old lady, to bath himself. And so we leave you two for the moment, ringed around with entrancing hopes. In fact, we won't see you again until some evenings later. We'll be curious, naturally, to learn what's transpired, so we'll be waiting for you in your rooms. And as it happens, we won't be alone.
Almost midnight, Mrs. Trimley. Where could they be?
At the theatre again, I'll warrant.
I was to the theatre once. I was took by a toff. Treated me just
Quiet.
like...
There's a motor outside.
A taxi, no less. It's her third this week.
Look at her, getting at like a queen. What's she in? The new Astrakhan jackety guyver with Venus sleeves.
Has she sold her gabardine coat?
Oh, now to her. She's wearing the Astrakhan and carrying the gabardine flung careless-like over her arm.
I saw her strutting about with him yesterday as if the two of them made a procession.
Hush. They're coming down the steps.
Strike me dead if she's not hooked on his arm.
Be still. Here they are.
Well, ladies. Kenneth, we have visitors.
Your servant, ladies.
We should apologize, Mrs. Dowie. We're not meaning to stay.
You're very welcome, I'm sure. Just wait till I get out of my Astrakhan and my muff and my gloves and my Excelsior. A little present from Kenneth.
Mr. Dowie, you've given her a glory time.
Oh, it's her that's given it to me, Mrs.
He's just pampered me. And the saints forgive us for this being the last night we had a sit-down supper at a restaurant. I swear by heaven we had champagne wine.
Oh,
And to them as doubts my words, here's the cork.
I don't believe
Oh,
it.
my
Well, sakes will have
Claire, she's got the cork
I'm
right
sure
here.
we don't grudge you your treats, Mrs. Dowie, and sorry we are that this is the end.
The end.
Yes. Yes, I must be off in 10 minutes.
Oh, of course.
If you'll excuse me, lady.
Strange. Why should she hide in the pantry like that?
Oh, poor thing. She's too polite to break down in company. Well, we must run, Mr. Dowie. You'll be having some last words to say to her.
That's why I kept her out so long, to have less time to say them in.
Oh, it's the best way. Come along, ladies. Good luck, Cocky. Goodbye, sir. It's such a nice thing.
Devil. Well, I might as well face it. Old lady.
Is it time?
No, not yet. Dixon's coming by for me. I told him to whistle when I must go.
All's ended. Everything.
Now then, you promised to be gay. We were to help one another.
Yes, Kenneth.
That's no way to say goodbye. No way at all.
I'm sorry, Kenneth.
Besides, I've something to discuss with you. Have you noticed you've never called me son?
Have I noticed it? I was feared, Kenneth. You said I was on probation.
Aye, and so you were. Well, the probation's ended. And if you want me, you can have me.
Oh. Kenneth, will I do?
Woman, don't be so forward. Wait till I've proposed.
Propose for a mother.
What for no? Mrs. Dowie, you queer old Carl, you spunky old biddy. Have I your permission to ask you the most important question a neglected orphan can ask of an old lady?
None of your sauce, Kenneth.
For a long time, Mrs. Dowie, you can't have been unaware of my sonnish feelings for you.
Wait till I take my mop to you.
And if you're not unwilling to be my mother, I swear I'll never ask another.
Oh, Kenneth.
Tell me, Mother, was I a well-behaved infant?
Not you, Sonny. You were a rampaging rogue.
Was I slow in learning to walk?
The quickest in our streets. Oh, was that the whistle?
No.
I thought...
Look here. In taking me over, you have, in a manner of speaking, joined the Black Watch.
I like to think that, Kenneth.
And you must therefore behave so the regiment will be proud of you. Shunt! Aye, that's the style. Now listen. I've sent in your name as my nearest of kin, and your allowance will be coming to you in the nearest way.
Oh, is it wicked, Kenneth?
Aye, well, I'll take the responsibility for it in both worlds. You see, I want you to be safeguarded in case...
Kenneth.
Shunt!
I forgot.
Have no fear. I'll be back, covered with mud and medals. And mind you, have that cup of tea waiting for me. Now, what fun we'll have writing to one another. Real letters this time.
Yes.
I hope her ladyship will go on sending me cakes.
You may be sure.
Here, let me tie my scarf around your neck like that. You must have been a funny thing when you were young, eh?
Blue was always my color. I can't... Oh.
There's the whistle, old lady. It's time.
Go now, Kenneth, please.
Old lady, you are what Blighty means to me now.
Old lady, I don't think it's fair to leave you that way. So we'll just have one more look at you. A month or two after Kenneth's death in action. It's early morning, and you're having a look at your medals. Kenneth's medals, before setting off on your daily round. First the medals, then the scarf, and then the champagne cork, whose tinsel needs a bit of polishing with your apron. No tears as you look at them. No. No tears as you put them back. No tears. But rather a triumphant pride as you lift your pail and mop again and say to no one in particular.
Well, off to work.
On behalf of the Motion Picture Relief Fund, thank you Ethel and Lionel Barrymore and Douglas Fairbanks, Jr. for a memorable performance. And now, before we tell you about next week's show, Here's a word from one of America's best-known beauty authorities, Lady Esther.
For you who have not so far succeeded in getting one of my Lady Esther 30th anniversary sets, a last reminder. You must now act swiftly. In most stores tomorrow morning, you will find they have either received additional sets or have a limited number of 30th anniversary sets on hand. But the number is limited, and they're going very fast indeed. So do plan to go to your favorite store or telephone tomorrow. And I know you will be pleased with this $1.93 value which you get for only 98 cents plus tax. This attractively packaged set gives you my large $1.38 jar of Lady Esther four-purpose face cream, and in addition, the boudoir-size 55-cent box of Lady Esther face powder in my flattering new shade, Bridal Pink. As you see, this makes a regular value of $1.93, but you get both for only 98 cents plus tax. You save 95 cents, almost $1, a lucky dollar. However, you must go at once if you want one of my Lady Esther anniversary sets. After your favorite store has sold the sets now on hand, I do not believe they'll be able to secure any more. So do try your store again tomorrow. Please don't wait and risk being disappointed again.
Next week, the Lady Esther Screen Guild Players will present Experiment Perilous. It will star Joan Bennett, Adolphe Menjou, and George Brent. Be sure to listen. The Old Lady Shows Her Medals was produced and directed for Lady Esther by Bill Lawrence and adapted by Harry Cronman. Douglas Fairbanks, Jr. will soon be seen starring in the RKO Technicolor production Sinbad the Sailor. Ethel Barrymore can soon be seen starring in the RKO production, The Farmer's Daughter. Lionel Barrymore is currently starring with Margaret O'Brien in the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer picture, Three Wise Fools. Music on tonight's program was arranged and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Tonight's Lady Esther Screen Guild show is being heard by our servicemen and women overseas through the worldwide shortwave and network facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. This is Truman Bradley speaking for Lady Esther. Thank you, and good night. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.